It's perhaps the only thing that can feel more permanent than that dreaded yearbook photo.
According to you,
a reputation earned while walking the halls of high school. The labels that sometimes latch on and don't let go.
A label is a classification. So when we label ourselves and others, we're classifying them. Smart, good looking, motivated. Now the downside, shy, fat, ugly. We do have a tendency to absorb those negatives and quickly forget the positives.
And sometimes the high school hurt doesn't graduate and move on easily. Studio 5 viewer Rose wrote to the show looking to lose the labels holding her back.
Tonight I saw someone from high school. All of a sudden, all of my insecurities came flooding back into my mind. Logically, I know we all have flaws, but sometimes I feel so inadequate. I don't want to avoid others just because I feel less than.
Okay, so how do we leave behind those high school labels and insecurities for good? Studio 5 relationship coach Matt Townsend is here.
He is here, of course. If anyone has reason to be insecure about high school,
yes,
it's you.
What do you mean?
Well, we've seen some photos that might be leaked out.
That's why I got the label photogenic.
Is that what you were?
I'm hot. Well, we're going to talk about that because high school, do you remember it? Do you remember?
Yeah, I don't have to think back quite as far as some other people.
Yeah, it was always
in this conversation.
But if you remember, things that were cool back then aren't cool anymore, right? Claw bangs. Do you remember the claw? Do you remember big hair? Vans? Did you have OPs?
No, that was after my era.
No way. You're older than me.
I was in the Angel Flights and Dittos for girls.
Dittos?
Dittos. Those were pants.
I have no idea what
Don't even know what you're talking about. Okay, so here's that was 70. Okay, I was in the 80s. Anywho, so here's the deal. We go back and we have this insecurity that floods back to us, right? Those insecurities today are just things that happened to us back then when we were warped. Right? So we're going to give you 3 rules to blow up this stupid thing, okay? First rule is you got to blow up the past. The past was messed up. Just look back how messed up we were. We thought we were cool because we did things. We said dude. We said bud, or no, what did we say? Hip.
Man. Oh.
Man. Hey, man. That stuff's just messed up. So we're going to blow it up. So here's the deal. I could be really insecure today because of my past, okay? Now, we're going to go through 3 photos. This was my first photo. These are my dance pictures. I'm the guy on the right. That's called the grimace. That's my grimace dance photo. Because I was always worried that people were watching me, so I'd panic, and I'd take my ugly picture. So that's the first one. Now, the next one is what I just call the eyes closed. This is me in love with my wife. This woman became my wife. And I was so happy, because that was our first hug, that my eyes actually rolled back and my eyelids closed. So then the next one, this is the last one. This is what I affectionately call the deer in the headlights. This, by the way, was I think this was the dance where I ended up kissing my girlfriend at the time, right there, Marty, my wife, for the first time. So I got this complex back then.
We can all see what she saw in you,
well, of course. For sure. Well, yeah, I was very manly, very, very studly, and incredibly photogenic. So you would think that I would be very insecure about how I smile.
There's reason to be right there, you know.
Yeah, but the reality is that's not who I am. That all took place when I was jacked up, when I was messed up. So I got to blow that up because that's not who I was. And after years of practicing, I learned how to smile. Okay? And now look at me. I'm on TV. Oh my gosh! I'm famous. No. Anyway, but the deal about all of this is you got to get over your past. Brooke, are you all right? Breathe, Brooke.
Yeah, that was fun.
So one of the rules is we got to blow up the past. The best way to blow it up is look at it just realistically. We were so messed up. So don't let today be scripted by how messed up you used to be. Okay? And now that's easy to say, but rule number 2 may help. Okay? Avoid the cancer of comparison. Every one of us, when we're feeling this anxiety, we're comparing our worst traits to everyone else's best traits. And none of them are realistic. So if we're going to end up comparing, I'd suggest you don't compare yourself to everyone else's best traits. You compare yourself to yourself. How are you doing today versus how you were back then? Today you have a family. Today you got an education. You got experience. You cut your hair. You're smarter. Whatever. There's things you're doing today that you didn't have back then. There's some securities you have today. Like I now know I can smile. I honestly, you know where I learned that? I learned that in a speech class. because everyone gets worried when they speak, and I realize that everyone gets worried. So if everyone's worried when they're speaking, why would I need to worry? Everyone else is already worried. So when I got that in my head that everyone gets nervous, so feeling nervous is normal, it made me relax. Even when I'm on here, I should worry a lot more about what I say, but I don't. And it's not healthy. But I realize it's just be who you are, and then let your personality come out, and that allows me to smile.
That actually might be a little bit helpful when you do compare yourself. Instead of the negatives, you compare yourself to them, realizing they're all nervous as well.
They're just as nervous.
We all were jacked up in high school. We all had those photos.
Well, and quite honestly, we still are jacked up. The reality is now we're just grown-up jacked up people with little jacked up people around us. So we should seemingly be less jacked up.
Steve, I think that cancer comparison is huge, especially for women. I mean, you talk about we compare our, what did you say, our worst quality to someone else's best quality.
And it's just their perceived best.
Yeah.
We don't even know. We know our worst, but we don't know their worst. If we compared worst to worst, we'd be like, oh man, she's a mess. But we don't go there because we don't know that data. So what I would suggest is compare your best to your worst. Where were you? Claw bangs. Do you remember? You don't do that anymore. Well, some do, Brooke. Sorry. Semi-claw. Just kidding.
You should really worry about what you say in that honesty.
This is an example of that.
Yeah.
So now here's a huge symbol, because the third rule is get out of yourself. So what I found is when you're talking to someone else, like back from high school, it's easier to just get drawn into them. Get into them. If you're worried about how you're going to come off, then get into them.
People like to talk about
them.
themselves.
People love to talk about themselves.
Yeah.
Get into them, share their stories, talk about their family, and you know what you'll usually find out if you listen? They'll tell you how messed up their life is. Well, we're doing really well, except for my child that's on drugs, and we're doing everything we can now to deal with that. Now all of a sudden, it's real. You've all been to a reunion. Maybe sometimes the 5-year reunion doesn't work because everyone's still competing. But by the 20-year, you're just lucky if you have teeth and hips and all your body parts. And so you eventually say to each other, you know what? We're just real. Half the football studs don't have hair. Right? The cheerleaders, you know, they're not cheering anymore because they got a bad back. So here's the deal, though. And I learned this in high school. I'm going to show you my 4th picture, okay? This is my favorite dance picture of all time because this was the dance picture that had nothing to do with me. This was a young girl named Amanda who had some disabilities, and I took her to a dance. It was my favorite dance of all time because it wasn't about me. So I got to hold her and carry her and dance with her through the entire night. And when it was time to take pictures, all my insecurities disappeared because I was thinking, Matt, you got to nail this one for Amanda. When I got into Amanda, I got out of me, and I just created an okay picture. It finally worked. So the principle is always get out of yourself. When you get out of yourself and into someone else, you'll be more real.
Great tips right there. You got a little event coming up that we need to be aware of?
Yes, actually not an event, but if anyone's out there, apparently there's some people out there who have communication problems with their partner.
Really?
Where they fight and they can't get through it. So we have a brand new website called smartmarriage.com. You go to it. It's a free training. It's what I do with you when I sit down and work with you. We assess you. It's 1 hour long. It's totally free. You and your partner sit down, go through the process, and we will teach you, and you'll walk away with real-life homework and skills for how to start improving your communication pattern. starvedmarriage.com. Go there.
Very cool idea and new. It's new. It's
yeah,
a new
that's
thing.
what we're doing. We're taking everything I do online. We're going to have a relationship university.
Awesome.
Yeah, baby.
Awesome.
Thanks, kids.
You.
You're awesome.
Okay.